Welcome, fans, to episode 159 of the Rangers Ed podcast, sponsored by Lucarelli Law. If you're in New York or Florida and you need a lawyer, please reach out to Dom Lucarelli and tell him the boys of Rangers Ed sent you. I'm followed. I'm joined here by Coach Ed. As always, Coach, what's going on?
What's going on? A lot of action around the league and some excitement with the Rangers again. It's good stuff to watch right now.
Yep, that's what we got. We got a special guest joining us. The big news around the league is Patrick Roy has been relieved of his duties. So we thought it would be great to bring on our frenemy from Hockey Night New York, Sean Cuthbert, to discuss it. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to hop on over to our socials. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X for the main ones. And we also are on Facebook. And as always, please follow or subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening on the audio, thank you very much. But you're definitely missing out on Coach Ed and I's beautiful faces and Coach drawing on the whiteboard, usually on our weekly episodes on Coach's Corner, and a ton of other content over there. A fan favorite, the Bella Italia commercial that I'll be playing later before Coach's Corner. So all those kind of stuff, head on over to YouTube and subscribe. So, Coach, like you said, there's a lot of buzz going around the league with the firing. But, yeah, on a Rangers note, a lot of positives floating around. We beat another playoff contending team, silenced the Capitals last night in the Garden on Easter Sunday. The day before, silenced the Red Wings. So we're crushing some hopes and dreams for the playoffs while we're at it and getting some momentum heading into the offseason. What are your initial thoughts before we bring on our guest?
Silence the Capitals isn't the word. I mean, they just that was a beatdown.
Yeah.
To me, the big excitement, again, we've been talking about these young kids coming in and their development. 2 fights last night, one from Cartier and Cooley. They're showing life. They're showing support for each other, and the ball just keeps rolling. They're putting pucks in the net. Other than against the Canadians, they're putting some pucks in the net. What is that, the third hat trick in the last week and a half or so, or 2 weeks maybe?
Yeah, I mean, the scoring is definitely up. Connor Sherry's got, what was it, 5 goals in the last 11 games or something like that?
Yeah.
So he's producing. All the young kids are buzzing. I mean, it seems to rejuvenate the team a little bit. It's a little disappointing that we only have a handful of games left to watch them, but I'm sure if they work hard in the offseason, they'll be back for next season. So exciting stuff in Rangers Town. So why don't we just hop across the Metro Division or hop across New York onto the island and bring on Sean Cuthbert. What's up, bud? How we doing?
What's up, boys? My favorite Stranger fans. How you guys doing?
Johnny.
We are doing great. We're excited to talk with you. Obviously, the big news around the league, Patrick Roy. I guess a coach that you've been high on, I think everyone's been high on. So it's definitely surprising. Around this time of year, it's hard to, got the April Fool's jokes on social media. It's really getting annoying. Yeah. You got to check to see if it was posted like 4 days ago or something. That kind of almost got me. I was like, is this an old post? Was this an April Fool's joke? So what were your initial thoughts on when you saw the news?
I think that's fair. I think I might have had a similar reaction. I was like, holy shit. Yeah. Especially given the fact that it happened on Easter Sunday. That's pretty cruel of Matthew Darche, if you ask me. But just like most everybody else, I was shocked. And I know you and I shared some initial raw thoughts, when it first happened, but you get 24 hours to think about it, see some of the I suppose narrative around it, and totally surprised, but at the same time, like a window open for something like this to happen, right? I mean, you have a team that was essentially in a playoff spot the entire season. And, when you get down to the last final, 5, 10, 15 games, right? They go on a 3-7 run in their last 10 games. They lose the last 4 in regulation, the first time they've done that all season long. So timing, obviously awful. And it kind of opens a window for Matthew Darche to say, maybe I can do something here. And, I had it in my mind that if the Islanders didn't make the playoffs, Patrick Roy was gone anyway. I'll even say that if they won a round, he might still be gone. Because you have to remember, Patrick Waugh was not originally a Matthew Darche guy. He was hired by Lou Lamoriello, and Darche said, all right, he had a conversation with him, in the offseason, said, all right, we'll keep this guy around. I like this guy. We'll see where it goes, kind of give him a trial run. And you get to this point, and if Matthew Darche is thinking how I was, if he's basically like, listen, if Patrick Waugh doesn't get into the playoffs, I'm getting rid of him anyway, then you kind of accomplish a few different things, right? You know that you're going to be looking for a new coach, right? And if you know that one of the coaches you're looking at is going to be highly sought by other teams, you can kind of get ahead of the game. So you can kind of conduct a mini search, I guess, over the course of 24 hours, which it seems that's what happened. And you can hopefully get the guy you want. And at the same time, it's kind of a last-ditch effort to get a jolt into this team to try to salvage the season and make the playoffs. So I get it. It was shocking. I did like Patrick Waugh. I sung his praises here on your show. But I understand why they did it. And it kind of deflects, I suppose, a little bit of blame. You look at the trade deadline, the guys they picked up not really panning out as well as you hope, and it already creates a new narrative for next season where they have a new coach, and you can see what they can do with that.
But why? I'm always backing up the coach anyway, but
of course,
I don't see the GM making any great moves. I mean, getting Shen was a good move, but he wasn't like a game changer. I don't understand. Like, they're blaming the coach for what? I mean, again, I have a handful of friends that are Islander fans, and their big thing is without Schaefer and Sorokin playing at Vezina level, the team's horrible defensively. So was that the idea that the GM had? I mean, I haven't heard anything negative from any Islander fans till now. Let's put it that way.
I don't.
They lose a few games, and the coach sucks. This guy sucks. This guy can't score. All year they were in second place. Everybody was honky dory. As soon as they got a little bit of a little tail, instead of picking them up. I mean, most fans are like that in every team, but I don't know. Tell me about it.
No, I don't think that the blame is even falling on Patrick Waugh. I think it was just doing some math and saying, hey, this season's slipping out of our fingers, and if we're going to let this guy go anyway, this sort of change, you hear about the post coaching change bump, right? That happens for some teams midseason, right? A guy look at Rick Bowness in Columbus. Look at that, right? They bring in Bowness, and all of a sudden the team is a wagon, right?
Torts.
Now, Torts, exactly, same thing. Now,
4-game winning streak for Vegas right now.
And that's exactly what the Islanders need to close out this season. They got 4 games left. I call it the Deboer 4.
Yeah, there you go.
And hopefully he can, help them pull it off. But yeah, I don't necessarily think it was this is Patrick Waugh's fault. He has to go. He ruined the season for the team. I think it was clearly a collective effort. The players didn't show up when they had to. They had some monster games against Pittsburgh, against Philadelphia. They dropped a big 2 points the week prior against Chicago, which is pretty inexcusable. So I think it was just like, okay, this team is trending in the absolute wrong direction at the worst possible time. What can we do to change this? And if you're going to make a change in the offseason anyway, the easy answer is to change the coach. So I don't think it's really, and it's certainly not from my standpoint, but I don't think it's necessarily Patrick Waugh ruined the squad. They got to go. He blew the season. The team did. And this was the easiest way to try to get a jolt.
Yeah, Schaefer actually took responsibility. I mean, any good leader or any good player would say the same thing, that we feel bad or we got him fired.
Right.
And to Coach's point, I mean, for everything I heard on the radio today, Deboer is very defensive minded as in coaching. So I think
they need that.
If the Islanders are faulting in their defensive whatever in that area, like Coach has said with his friends, then I guess that is the quickest fix. It just is so surprising. Obviously, like we just said, it happened with Torts, with Vegas and stuff. But like with the Rangers, Drury had his sights set on on Sullivan, and he got his guy. It seemed like maybe Darche maybe had his eyes set on Deboer. But like you said, the whole timing, Easter Sunday, why not like last week or whenever he really wanted to? It is just a whole weird situation. We'll never find the truth, or we'll never get the truth on what happened. But yeah, it's just very interesting to see what's going to happen.
Well, the funny thing is, I mean, if they had 2 to 5 more points in the standings, this probably doesn't happen.
Right.
You know, if they win one of those 2 games against Pittsburgh or Philly, this probably doesn't happen. But it was literally Murphy's Law, and anything that could go wrong in their control went wrong. They got some help from you guys. They got some help from some other teams, keeping some other teams, down in the standings. They're kind of actually still lucky to be only a point out of the 3rd spot in the Metro, or even a wild card spot. But it was the perfect storm of like, you know what, like I can make this move and it kind of makes sense, And again, if Darsh is looking ahead and saying, okay, you got teams X, Y, and Z that are going to be looking for coaches in the offseason anyway,
Right.
Why not get a leg up on those guys? So, like, I get it. And if they weren't on a 4-game losing streak, yeah, it probably doesn't happen. So it just happened to work out right, where he said, you know what, this might be my best chance at getting that coveted playoff gate, that playoff money that everybody wants. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if Roy does win that first round matchup, it's a lot harder to fire somebody after that. So to me, it sounds like Darsh never really wanted Roy as his guy, like you were saying. And I do remember you saying that in our preseason episode, that it's probably going to be a short leash.
And it's a gamble for Darsh to save some face, because right now, you look at the guys we just talked about briefly about the deadline, right? He went out and made those moves. He gave out a first-round pick for an old, aging Braden Shen, a guy who has $6.5 million left on his contract. He's here for another 3 years after this season. And let's face it, if they don't make the playoffs, Darsh is going to have some egg on his face, right? So if this move can be a last-ditch effort to get them into the playoffs, then all of a sudden people are forgetting about that a little more, right? But if they don't make it, then he's going to have some more answers. I will not be able to wait for those exit interviews after they miss the playoffs if it happens.
Yeah, but at the same time, and we deal with it all the time, and we've been focusing our episodes on that and like analyzing Drury's plan and the whole culture situation. I mean, I know it's been a little bit more time with the Islanders in recent years with the success compared to the Rangers, so it's a little bit of a different situation. But at the same time, like, you don't want to rush these things. Darsh just got hired. You know, like it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Like, it would suck for fans to, or for you guys not to make the playoffs. I mean, not for us, but for you guys, it would suck. But at the same time, it's like we just said this on our show. Drury hired Sullivan. The clock starts now. Like, he got his guy. The clock didn't start when Drury got hired. He inherited a lot of this. And it's very similar with Darsh. He inherited a lot of the signings, the contracts, the players, the coach, everything. But also like Lamoriello is still kind of lingering around a little bit too. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, that's all fair to say. And listen, I think all 3 of us here in the room, none of us expected the Islanders to make the playoffs to begin with. And I'm pretty sure that was, what we spoke about when you did your out of town, roundup before the season started, right? I didn't have expectations to make the playoffs. But the problem is that the team teased us essentially from October to April that this team was going to make the playoffs. So the expectations change. And Darsh even pivoted, right? Like, going into October, he didn't know he was going to be buying at the trade deadline. And you get there and they're semi-comfortable in a spot as you're leading up to that date, right? And, he came out and said it. He's like, listen, the team's been playing well and he wants to reward the team. And that's all fair. I get all that. Now, was the reward the best reward maybe, you could ask for? I was lukewarm on the Shen acquisition. He's put up points. He's been productive. But, you gave up a pretty significant asset to get a guy who I just described, his age and his contract, right? And, I understood the Susie pickup because they just needed insurance on D. And, Palat hasn't really panned out. He's a guy who Darsh was with in Tampa. I mean, in his heyday, he was an absolute clutch player, great player. And I was kind of looking forward to see if he did have any kind of playoff magic left in the tank. Hopefully I'll still get to see that, but he hasn't panned out as well. So again, the whole theme of the season pivots. They're in a playoff spot all year. So everybody's expectations have risen. Schaefer's having a monster year. Sorokin's having a monster year. And it's like, let's take advantage of this. And let's look at the business side too. Let's just face it. Like, the people at the top I was joking about it before, but they do want that playoff gate. They want that money. They
Oh
want to
yeah,
get in.
everyone does.
Yeah. So, they kind of said, "Hey, we got a shot. Let's take one." The deadline, pretty iffy right now with the returns, right? Because they kind of went south afterwards. And again, a last ditch effort here to maybe salvage something.
Were there rumors, Sean, that this was going to happen? Like when you were doing your show, did Arthur have anything to say, or did he hear anything that, I mean, to me, it was just, I mean, Cassidy was a shock to me too.
Mhm.
They were struggling. They might have higher expectations because at the beginning of the season, they were not favored, but they were in the running for the Stanley Cup.
For sure. Right.
That was a little bit of a different situation, but that was still a shock to me. I mean, how much more does Cassidy have to do as a coach, and not to be able to withstand a little heat? I don't know.
Well,
I just think they play. It just how do you coach and just have to wonder every day what's going on? That's a tough. I mean, you talk about the players. The coach has to make a decision based on his career. What's going on? That's a
yeah.
tough position. That's a tough position, man.
It's
That's why they're
been
getting paid the big bucks.
I
yeah,
guess.
it's been the nature of the biz, for forever, right? That's just how it is. And geez, I don't know if there's a more cutthroat franchise in the league than Vegas, right? So it was surprising, but at the same time, like if anybody's going to do it, it's Vegas. And then I think we all just, our jaws went to the floor when the Islanders went and did it, right?
Yeah,
But
because they were just talking about on NHL Network all the tenures of the coach when they were talking about Torts replacing Cassidy. They were talking about Deboer's going to be the first coach signed by some team. That was like Tuesday or Wednesday. I was listening. I was working by Eddie's house. And then all of a sudden he got hired. So obviously, like you said, they must, they want that guy. So you might as well do it now because whether they make the playoffs or not, it's not going to be his fault. It's not going to be Deboer's fault. So he's going to have a clean slate. And but it just amazes me when this happens.
yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
No,
No, I was going to say to
kind of
answer
change the segment.
your original question, Coach. There were no rumors. Like there wasn't any sort of rumblings that he was going to go, especially again with the surprising season they had. If anything, the question was, wow, is he saving his job? Because I think, like I alluded to before, like when Darsh came in, you half expected him to perhaps let Wah go because he wasn't his guy. Most GMs they like to hire their own guy, right? But it was smart in the sense that it was like, hey, there's no pressure to win this season, so let's see what Patrick Waugh can do with a roster that I somewhat construct here. Let's see, how things go. I'll evaluate. If I maintain a good relationship with him and they have success, maybe I'll keep him around. And if he doesn't reach a certain level, then he lets him go. And now he still kind of has a clean slate because hey, I didn't hire that guy, so he didn't work out, but he's not my guy. So now he's got his guy. Now he's on the clock with his coach, and that's how it went. But no, there weren't any rumors that things were going south there. No, that I know of.
I just find it hard to believe in this that not just the Islanders, obviously, all these teams, even the Rangers, with firing these coaches in the last 5 years. It seems like there's no. I mean, I remember there was a lot of coaches that were the GMs also. Lamarillo being one, he kept coaching. He was like, firing this guy, coaching the interim coach. But it seems like a lot of them just don't get along. Like they're not on the same page. Even in Toronto with Dubas and Sheldon Keefe, they were constantly bickering.
A lot of egos out there.
Philosophy. That's why I got to say, hopefully, well, I don't. Again, like Eddie said, I'm not hoping for our sake, but for your sake, that they're on the same page.
I think that's the biggest thing.
We'll see. I mean, the interesting thing too with the timing is that he gets like a 4-day mini training camp with them.
Yeah.
In the sense that, they played Saturday and they don't play again until Thursday. So he had his first practice with them today. He's got 2 more days to get to know the team a little bit, maybe, put some lines together and maybe instill some of his structure that the team was lacking under Patrick Waugh, because Patrick Waugh was more of a go-go guy. He wanted offense, and bless his heart, that's great, but it exposed a very, already weak defense. And, I don't know if Pete Deboer is going to be the same wizard that Barry Trotz was when he came over, because he completely revamped the defense for the Islanders. If Deboer can do something like that, then all of a sudden maybe they have something. But you know, I don't know if they have the soldiers for that, but we're gonna find out one way or another.
Being a goalie,
have the defense is the team. It's 5 guys out there, so if he changes, he could probably just tweak 1 or 2 little things, and it could work. But again, I think I was pissed off when they got Trotz because I knew they were going to be successful. I think it's going to be the same thing. This guy can coach. There's no secret about it, and they're going to be a very competitive team. He's a no-nonsense guy. And he's an honest guy. He's honest with his players. I used to watch him when he was doing that, coaching Dallas. I watched his interviews and stuff. He knows his stuff. He's on the same schedule as Paul Maurice, right? They played together in juniors or whatever. So
yes,
they got a lot of the same philosophies, and they're honest with their players. They're going to yell and they're gonna hug them. So it'll be good stuff.
I love that you brought that connection with Maurice up. Because it's funny, because you're never going to get 100% satisfaction out of any fan base, right? And of course, you're going to have your detractors. So you get some people already giving up. Pete Deboer, the guy hasn't won anything yet. Well, every coach hasn't won anything until they've won something. Yeah. And Paul Maurice is the perfect example of that. The guy was in the league for decades, and he's always been considered a great coach. He just never got there, and he finally got there, and he won 2 cups in a row. So I'm not saying Pete Deboer's, winning a cup next year or anything like that, but it doesn't take away the fact that he's been a great coach in the league. He's been in conference finals, Stanley Cup finals. I mean, he has a way of bringing teams deep into the playoffs, maybe with some better personnel, but he has a reputation for doing it, right? And so, I think that's all BS. The whole he hasn't won anything yet. He's had tons of success. I was just reading today that he
can't win a Game 7.
No, he's 9-0 in Game 7s.
I thought it was the opposite. No,
I thought, unless my dyslexia kicked in,
you might be right.
I thought I read that he was 9-0 in Game 7s.
I thought that was his Achilles heel.
No, he can't be winless. He can't be winless. It can't be 0-9 because I'll tell you why. Do you guys remember? I think it was 2019. He was coaching the Sharks against Vegas. You remember they were down 3-0 in the third period. Vegas took the 5-minute major. And they scored 4 goals on the major, and they won.
That's when Pavelski, we almost saw Pavelski die on.
No, I remember that. I actually remember that.
Posting a perfect 9-0 record in his career, but he still can't win the cup. So maybe Game 6s he's not good at.
unless Vegas came back and won anyway. But I know
no, I'm reading it right here. 9-0 in his career.
There you go. Okay, so.
Well, first of all, to base that, especially in this day and age, there's 32 teams. To win a Stanley Cup is not an easy task. A lot of things have to come together. Again, the GM, the coach, players, they all have to buy into a system. That, when you have, let's say, 30 personalities in management and players having to come together, that's not very easy. Yeah. And that's like saying Rob Brindamore's not a good coach, and he's the other guy with the second highest tenure.
There you go.
Not about him. It was John Cooper, Brindamore, and Paul Maurice. Other than that, there's only the longest tenure in hockey is I think 4 years.
Yeah. And in a vacuum, like outside of the timing and the weirdness and all that, like Pete Deboer as the head coach of the New York Islanders is good news to me. You know what I'm saying? Like that is something I would absolutely be on board for. I didn't know it was going to come this way. I didn't know it was going to come like this. But him as the Islanders coach, sign me up. And
100%.
And one of the few things I did tweet about it was, I took a step back and just offered another perspective. And I was like, say what you want to say about Deboer or, your opinion on the timing and how it happened and everything like that. But it is nice to be in an era where the New York Islanders can hire names like Barry Trotz, Patrick Waugh, Peter Deboer, because for nearly 2 decades, the only guys willing to take the job were rookies, coaches in the system from the AHL and Ted Nolan. That's it. That's it. Nobody wanted to touch the team with a 10-foot pole. So to be here now and to have the most sought-after guys, some of the most well-respected, coaches in the game now, in the playing field for the Islanders, it's a nice place to be for me.
I mean, let's pump the brakes a little bit. They had Ted Nolan, they had Laviolette, they let him go.
Laviolette was a rookie. That's my point. The guy was just looking for a job. If Peter Laviolette was the Peter Laviolette we know now, he would not have taken that job. He came from the Providence Bruins. The guy was just looking for an NHL job.
And he
So
got him into the playoffs of right.
2 years in a row, and then Millbury canned him because it's Millbury.
Yeah.
But the point is, Peter Laviolette then was not Peter Laviolette now.
I got you. But shame on Milbury for not noticing that. He was another.
Well, shame on Millbury for not noticing a lot of things.
A lot of shit.
To be fair, yeah. Let's be fair. Yeah.
Well, when you hire a guy that actually went into the stands at Madison Square Garden to fight a fan,
there goes my hero.
You got to question the ownership on that one.
Oh man. Well, after talking and after you mentioned that they got the 4 days off here, does make a lot of sense that if you want to have those 3 days of practice, why waste time, even if it is on the holy day of Easter? But who knows? Maybe Patrick Waugh doesn't celebrate. But Sean, I know you got an important roller hockey game to get to. Right?
Yes,
I got one last topic / question for you. You mentioned the offseason, the Braden Shen trade. I can't disagree with saying the first round pick. It was a pretty high price for someone like Braden Shen, but I also can't pretend like I watch him every night when he was in St. Louis or even now that he's on the Islanders. Is he one of those like maybe more defensive minded? I was kind of Googling while we were talking, kind of mixed reviews on his defensive structure and things. But my first thought is maybe Darsh and Deboer were talking a little bit around the trade deadline, and Deboer might have said, hey, this is one of my guys, or this is someone I've admired, like maybe because that's what we've been saying about Sullivan and Drury being on the same page and targeting specific types of players, and then it also brings into the question of, is Anders Lee going to get re-signed as the captain? Maybe Braden Shen, he has a lot of experience as a captain with the Blues, like all these factors could come into play.
Well, to answer the first part of your question, that would mean that Darsh would have had to have been talking to Deboer as far back as early March, right? The trade deadline.
I don't know if that's against the tampering rules or what the situation is, like
I'm not even going there. Like I don't even know if this was on the radar. And listen, and I know what people say publicly can be very different from what actually happens behind the scenes. But Deboer himself today said he only started talking to Darsh Saturday night after the Carolina loss. And then they only put the deal together in the morning yesterday. Now, once again, that could be complete BS. Yeah. But if we're taking that at face value, then it means, this came together in a very short span of time, right? So, and to be perfectly honest with you, even if the two of them were talking, previous to this weekend, I don't think there's a direct line between Shen and Deboer either. I don't think he's coached him at any point. I don't know that for 100% certainty, but not in the NHL at least. So, I mean, I just think that was a guy who the Islanders look, and I'll tell you what, I don't think he was even, priority number one at the deadline. I think they settled for Braden Shen, and that's not to take anything away from him, but I think they were aiming for somebody who might have been a decade younger or within a decade younger, But I think, again, what they wanted to do was just add to this team, try to provide some insurance or a little extra boost to confirm that playoff spot. Unfortunately, it's blown up in their faces, but he's a great face-off man. Everything I've seen, read, and heard. We actually had Rutherford, who covers the Blues for The Athletic, come on the show a week after he joined the team, and he gave us a lot of insight. And he had nothing but glowing things to say about him. Talked about how integral he was to their Stanley Cup run. But again, that was 7 years ago or 8 years ago, 2018, 2019, whatever it was. And so the guy, he's not the same. Yeah, so he's not the same Braden Shen he was back then. He's actually put up a decent amount of points since he's been here. It was like, at one point it was like 7 points in 11 games. I think that's spread out a little more now. I haven't looked more recently, but the point is they're getting some production out of him. He's a very good mentor for Cal Ritchie, who's showing a lot of promise with the squad. But I don't even think that he was necessarily considered like a long-term solution, despite the added years in this contract. So I'm very curious to see how all that goes. And you talk about leadership and captaincy. The next guy in line for the C, if and when Anders Lee goes, is Bo Horvat. I think that's without question. I also think they're going to bring Lee back, even if you can make a very strong case just for the age factor to maybe not. But He already brought JGP back, so I think Lee's coming back too. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I love Anders Lee. I mean, it's hard not to root for that guy.
He's
He's
great.
an Islander. Yeah, his style of play is definitely what Coach Ed and I look for in players. I think, and he could fight. He could do it. He could really do it all. Great net front presence, all that stuff. So yeah, I agree with you. It'd be silly not to bring him back for the right price. Coach, you got anything else for Sean before we actually let him go?
I mean, I gotta give it to Anders Lee because I heard that Brady Tkachuk story about when they were playing Ottawa, and he said to him, I have to do this. You want to go now, I mean, could you just imagine that? It's like you got to give the guy credit right there, just dropping the gloves and doing what he had to do for a team. How you don't sign a guy like that? Hopefully, he does it as a team-friendly deal, because obviously he's not worth what he was 8 years ago or 7 years ago. But you got to try to keep a guy like that, in my opinion. He's one of the grit guys you need.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's just old, like a lot of other guys in the team, and they need to get younger somehow. And I'm not saying necessarily at the expense of Anders Lee, but they have to get younger legs on that squad, because that's a big reason why their defense is their team defense is hurting so much, is because they just have a lot of old legs on the ice.
Yeah.
Foot speed's a big thing in this NHL, without a doubt. Yeah, Sean, thanks so much. I mean, I was about to ask you about Barzal, but we'll definitely revisit that in the off season. As always, you're the best. Thanks for coming on and kind of last minute here and discussing with us. And good luck in your game, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Always a pleasure, boys. Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.
Get the sticks out, Sean.
Sounds good.
Head on a swivel. All right, that was great. Thank you, Sean, as always, for popping on with us. Yeah, we're not exactly rooting for the Islanders, but at the same time, we like to see the rivalry thriving, and we don't want to see a blowout on either side of the ice. So, actually, that's not true. We'll see a blowout on the Rangers side of the ice. Yeah, it's always a lot more fun when it's competitive, and maybe we'll finally get that playoff series next season that we've always wanted, Rangers-Islanders in round 1 or round 2. That'd be exciting stuff. But anyway, before we move on, let's play the Bella commercial and get into some Coach's Corner if we want to build on what we just talked about with Sean.
Hey everybody, Coach Ed here. I'm over here in the shop at Bella Italia, Marble, Granite, and Quartz, picking up my order for a nice little bathroom I'm doing. I've been a contractor almost as long as I'm a hockey coach. So listen to me when I tell you, when you want the quality work and craftsmanship, I'm going to see the boys over at Bella. They serve all 5 boroughs, Westchester, Long Island, all the way out to Montauk. Whether you're a Ranger fan, Islander fan, Devils fan, they're going to take care of you no matter what. Make sure you give them a call, 516-561-1018. Let's go Rangers.
All right, boys, bring it in. There you go.
All right, Coach. I know we already discussed a lot of the coaching stuff already, but thought we might want to tie it on into the Rangers situation. I mentioned it before with Sean about targeting your guy. I know we've discussed it a lot, but Chris Drury and Sullivan, or Drury finally has his guy with Sullivan, and I just wanted you to hammer down the importance of the coach and the GM being on the same page and establishing that culture moving forward.
Well, I'll go back to 94 when the Rangers won the Cup last, obviously. It was a constant. I mean, they didn't have internet, obviously, then and all this social media. But in the newspapers, it was, if I remember correctly, I probably have a lot of the articles up in the attic. It was a constant battle between Neil Smith and Mike Keenan. Keenan wanted full power, and it was more like Messier and Keenan telling Neil Smith what we got to get and, what we need to do. Obviously, they were right, but Neil Smith didn't want to walk away, and that's when Keenan decided not to come back, where they could have had more success in the next few years. But Keenan wanted full reign, which he had in Philadelphia before. And so it's a tough dynamic. I find it hard to believe that they didn't talk till Saturday night. I mean, I guess there's probably if there are ex-coaches, let's just say in the NHL, just like players, they probably have profiles available of what they're expecting as a salary, parameters, I would guess, to where if I'm a GM, I know Deboer's out there, he's going to command $3 million or whatever that number is for him. I don't know.
Like an actor has like a quote or
right.
a quota.
Got to be something where he's interested, or the agent has to send out a bullet email to GMs. Steve's available. He's interested in coming to the X, Y, and Z cities or whatever. I don't know. It's got to be something, because I just find it hard to believe he's going to come in and coach a team and hasn't watched them at all intently to see what he's going to do. I mean, he's going to have to watch 3 hours of film a day to figure things out, or change or tweak a little something here and there.
Yeah, I heard on the radio today that he actually made an announcement himself saying that he was ready to come back. So it was all a little interesting timing, oh, I'm ready to come back. A week later, signed. But, I'm with you.
What it is,
I don't know if there is a rule against tampering with coaches or anything like that. Like, they are allowed to talk. I would say probably not, or maybe I would imagine it's just frowned upon. If you already have a coach in place, why are you talking to somebody else? Type situation. But
well, to me, it's kind of like if you're married and you cheat on your wife with another woman, that woman doesn't think that could eventually happen to her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if I'm the coach that's getting hired and they're going to fire Roy, what do you think, that you're stable in that position, that the GM won't do that for you in 2 years? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're not safe unless you're like lifelong buddies. But even who's the guy that owns Dallas? Jerry Jones and what's his name? They were college buddies and they battled all the time, They had discrepancies. So, again, it's always comes down to human nature, personalities, power, and it's very hard to say, I'll just let the GM do whatever he wants. I feel it needs to be, like we've been saying over and over, they got to have that mesh where they have the same theories about what you need to win, which isn't easy to find. It's just like finding all the right players. That's another part of it, having management on the same page. So it's going to be interesting. I think they got a good one. I'm not guaranteeing they're going to win a cup or anything. Like Sean said the same thing. He doesn't expect a cup, but I think they're going to be a defensively structured team and a little tougher. If you have a goal like Sorokin and you got a defensive structure as a team, it's going to make him even better.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
I generally remember Sean blowing up the defense with Pellick, Pulick, Schaefer, this guy, how great they were. Now all of a sudden, defensively, they're lacking. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
I love Sean, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's all fun and games until you start losing some games. And to me, it was an interesting situation. There was many conflicting opinions on the radio. I also listened to Johnny Lads in the Morning Cup of Hockey this morning. They had Arthur Staple on as a guest, kind of to tease their other podcast. It's all Daily Face Off, so it's all under the same umbrella. But yeah, it was all just interesting hearing what their perspective was on it. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, the biggest thing is just the GM and the coach have to be on the same page. And to me, what it sounded like towards the end, Patrick Waugh and Darsh just weren't on the same page. And when it comes to time, maybe Darsh just wakes up Sunday morning and he's like, you know what? It's time. Let's just get it done. And that's that. And like we said before, with the whole 4 days of practice or 3 days of practice until their next game on Thursday, no better time than now, right? So it does make a little bit of sense in that regard, like we said. So I guess we can wish them nothing but what?
I don't know what's the right word.
Exactly. So it is what it is. So let's move on. Exciting stuff today. I got through into NHL Network Radio on Mick Kern's show at 11 o'clock today. Mick Kern and Peter Berce. So I'm going to play that clip for you really quick, and then Coach Ed and I will talk about it. And then one of our friends of the show, Antonio. I didn't know it was him until after the fact, and he messaged us on Insta. He called in to defend my honor a little bit and helped me out there on the radio. So shout out to Antonio, who writes for Blue Line Station. I repost a lot of his stuff on our story. So if you get a chance to go check out some of his blogs. Before that, let's just play the clip from Mick Kern on NHL Network Radio today.
Line open now, 1-877-645-6696. Let's do one more for the break. Eddie, Long Island, you're in under review. Eddie, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, Mick, how's it going? Peter, thanks for putting me through. You guys have a great show.
Thanks.
Love listening to you guys. You keep it fun and interesting every day.
Thanks.
But that's not the reason I'm calling. The reason I'm calling was to pump Chris Drury's tires a little bit. He's been catching a lot of hate from the fan base recently. Obviously, the booing Chris Drury and fire Drury at the Garden has been quieting down a little bit recently, which is great to hear, or great to not hear, I should say.
Right.
A lot of his draft picks are finally coming into fruition. I shouldn't say finally. A lot of them are like second and third or lower round draft picks that have been cooking in Hartford the last couple of years. Coach Ed and I, my co-host on our Rangers podcast, go to a few Hartford games a year, and we like to keep an eye on some of the prospects, and we like to see what we like to see, and like players like Hemlock, Sikora, Perot's a little bit newer, obviously. He didn't really cook in Hartford for too long, but some of these, like I said, second, third round picks that really make an effect or really make an impact on Stanley Cup winning teams, I think are what Chris Drury, or we think is what Chris Drury's targeting, and finding the right character pieces and the guys that really want to improve and play the game the right way and play the game hard. I just want to get your thoughts on that. I can hang up if you want, or we can keep talking.
Oh, we can keep talking. You're a Ranger fan, right?
Yes, of course. Our podcast is Rangers Ed Podcast. We'd love to have you and Peter on one day if you'd like to come on.
Well, send me a message. Yeah, I'd do that. Absolutely, I'd love to. I love people who are doing stuff like that. I appreciate the effort made. So we'll talk. We'll do that. Talk to Peter maybe off there. I'll say this. I'm curious from Ranger fans listening if there's pushback on what Eddie's saying. Because, the 100% fire jury stuff, yeah. Wins pacify people. It's amazing. Even though the wins are meaningless in the sense of a playoff pursuit this season, they're not for other reasons. In fact, some Ranger fans may say, don't win, more balls in the lottery machine, blah, blah, blah. But it's all about the young players, the perception. What are the Rangers next year? Did you think this year the Rangers were a playoff team? Did you think so?
Going into this year, yes, 100%. I mean, they made the right moves with hiring Sullivan, trading for JT Miller at the end of last year, naming him captain, going in with the no BS attitude or mentality. Obviously, right. Things went a little south. My biggest thing this year was it was an Olympic year. I mean, it's human nature to focus on Team USA. Sullivan obviously had a lot on his plate. JT Miller had probably a lot on the plate. They've been dealing with a lot in the media. Dealing with New York media is not easy. There's no secret there. No. But these guys are professionals. That's another thing that people don't like, how JT Miller carries himself sometimes. But we're big JT Miller fans. I think, like I said, this was just an off year for him, battling injuries, going to the Olympics, winning the gold medal. It just takes an impact on people's mentalities and just the way they think of maybe a regular season game in January. So I don't know. Like I said, it was just a weird year. I really look forward to them going into the off season with a positive mentality and not tanking. I've been telling a lot of Ranger fans that ask me if they should tank or if they should try to win games. I'm a big believer in winning games. They're going to go into the off season with confidence. They're going to want to go back to the rink right away to start working out and get better. If you're losing games towards the end of the season, you're not going to go into the off season with a good mentality. You're going to be I feel like going to the rink for now. I'm going to take a week off, 2 weeks off, whatever the case may be, and I don't think that's the right mentality, especially for these young kids. And I don't think the Rangers necessarily need any more assets. I'm sorry I'm long-winded here, but...
No, it's fine. No, you're making good points.
Right now...
No, Eddie, I appreciate it. I will let you go here. I appreciate the phone call. You've obviously thought this through. When we come back, let's ask Rob from Long Island if he agrees with what Eddie said, if he agrees with any of it. The Rob from Long Island when we come back. Ranger fan extraordinaire. Does he share the same optimism that Eddie does? Oh, you want to hear this. That means a line
So I didn't get Rob from Long Island's permission to play the video. I mean, I don't know how to contact him. It's not that I didn't get his permission. I just don't know how to get his permission. So I didn't want to play his rebuttal. But basically, he somewhat agreed with me. He's a I don't know, like a weekly caller on their show. He's just a Ranger fan from Long Island. He's very enthusiastic and I don't know, animate and whatever. He's a great radio call-in guy. So Mick loves him. And yeah, he didn't really have too much to say in rebuttal to what I said. He just doesn't really have a lot of faith in Drury. He's still waiting for like that big trade or signing, I guess. And obviously, I didn't really have a chance to rebut him. But as you can
here's my point. On one hand, everybody was bitching about how they're not developing their prospects. Now you got this guy when finally the prospects are somewhat developing and doing well. Now you have the guy saying he's waiting for Drury to do the big signing or the big trade. What do you want? The big signing to me was JT Miller at the end of last year, getting him for Filipino.
Yep.
I'm saying the big move. That was a big move. And letting Panarin go for whatever we got. And now you have a team that is obviously not playing for anything other than pride, and most of them are playing for a start of their career. And if I'm reading it right, I'm seeing these kids, and like I said last episode, it seems that they drafted these kids with the same work ethic. I don't see any of these kids not going into the offseason, like you said, all excited, working out, seeing what I need to do to take another step. Not to be great, not to be Connor McDavid, to make themselves better the next step. And that's all it takes to be an NHL player. Not all it takes, but that's what it takes to stay in the league somewhat, is to improve yourself.
And that's what Sullivan always says. I'm glad you brought that up. That's what he always says, like in almost every single one of his press conferences. What is it going to take for us to come to the rink to be the best versions of ourselves? It's and fans out there, we're not hockey players, we're not in the NHL. You could take that advice for yourself too. What's it going to take for you to wake up every morning and be the best version of yourself, going to work, going to your roller hockey game like Sean is right now? Whatever is important to you, what's it gonna take to be the best version of yourself? You might not be the Connor McDavid of, I don't know, like I'll use myself as an example. You're not gonna be the Connor McDavid of podcasting, or the Paul Bissonnette of podcasting, or I don't know, Bob Ross of painting things like I do in my workshop. You're not going to be that guy, but what's it going to take to be the best version of Little Ed or the best version of Coach Ed, going to his Stony Brook games or whatever the case may be? What's it going to take? What's the best time to do things? What's the best attitude to do it? What's the best mindset? How much caffeine you need? All these little things are a factor of what's it going to take. And going to the NHL level, like we just said, going into the offseason with the right mentality, that's what it's going to take to improve that confidence. And going to that, losing games and tanking, I don't think helps anybody except for the lottery pick, the amount of balls that we're going to get, which realistically I don't really think matters. The NHL is going to give the first pick to whoever they want to give it to.
Whatever they got to do to make it better.
The last couple of years, it's been so obvious. Even when the Rangers got Laffy, it's like, they were like they finished like fourth to last that year, I think. So the mentality, the confidence, I think speaks a lot more volumes than tanking and getting a better pick. And yeah, I think like you guys heard what I had to say on the radio. I wish I could be a consistent caller with Mick. Maybe that's all I got to do is try to call in every Monday and make a name for myself. But it was super fun. I love. When you're waiting, like your heart is just pounding. It's hard to explain, but like you call once, I didn't get through. Like the NHL Network, like the radio or the robot comes on, like, sorry, we could not connect your call. And I tried again right away, and then all of a sudden the music starts playing. I'm like, oh shit, I'm on. And you really have no idea when they're gonna put you on. But then Peter answers the phone. He's like, what's your name? What are you calling about? And I was like, oh, Little Ed from Long Island. I'm a Rangers fan. Just want to pump Drury's tires a little bit on his draft picks. And he goes, oh, yeah, sounds great. I'll put you through. So then that's when I texted you. I was like, I'm going to be on. And I had no idea when it was because you don't know how many callers they have ahead of you. So then you actually listen to the radio on your phone. So like it's hard to do while you're driving because then you have to turn the radio off in your car. Otherwise, you'll get the whatever, the echo and stuff.
Reverberation.
So, yeah, I'm like, oh shit, what do I gotta get my headphones in? I got whatever. Luckily, I got to where I had to be and I was able to park. And then it like went through a whole commercial break. I was like, when am I gonna be on? This is crazy. But shout out to Mick. And before I wanted to play Antonio's rebuttal, like I said, you can find him on Blue Line Station. It's a blog on the internet, obviously, bluelinestation.com. I repost a lot of his stuff. But yeah, like I said, I'm just going to play his rebuttal here. We'll talk about it for a second with our next subject here, and then we'll get into Stars of the Week and round it out with upcoming schedule.
Let's go to Antonio in New Jersey. He's on under review. Go ahead, Antonio.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, not much. Well, you want to retort Rob, do you?
I'm going to retort Rob, retorting Ed, and I'm not going to be as long-winded as Rob usually is. So Ed is completely right. So some Ranger fans might resent this late-season surge because, like, winning means fewer ping-pong balls, and, Chris Drury hasn't proven it yet. And I don't know. I think that he's doing a good job, and he's making a lot of fans like Rob eat crow. And the truth is, experience like this and the confidence and the team building like this, it's invaluable. It builds a team identity. And a lot of Ranger fans would say this. Even the Rangers teams that were good, they didn't even have an identity. This is the core of a team that's building towards something that you can't really define yet. And in sports, this is how you build a winner.
Okay. What do you say if I say to you, okay, that's all good, but there's no pressure on them, so of course they're coming through. It's like a baseball team out of the pennant race in September starts winning games. It's like, it's nice, but it doesn't usually translate to April. Am I seeing the same thing here?
I don't remotely buy that narrative at all because they're kids. They're all playing for something. None of them have made their bag yet. They're all trying to make their own mark. They're all playing these, like Adam Sikora and God, I can't even pronounce his name. Shemalak, whatever the hell his name is. They're playing like every game is Game 7. They're playing with such enthusiasm. I was at that game last night. I was at that 8-1 rout, and every goal, like, it breathes this big air of optimism in the Garden that's not been there this season.
Right.
There's a lot to be said for that. The intangibles that teams have, that winning teams have, this is how you make those intangibles. This is how you get teams to care about each other and to play for each other. Because championships aren't won by ping pong balls. They're won by like a cohesive group of people who grow together. You can't draft that ingredient. You can't trade for it. You got to make it.
Well, until you said that, yeah, you can trade and draft for it if you can identify it, and then you add it to that group. You're saying draft Schmaft and trade Schmade. Then you got to put a team together somehow. You're not just opening the door and having open tryouts. I know what you're driving at, but yes, the draft does matter. Yes, trades do matter. That's the only two way I think you can make a team. Outside of free agents, there's that too, I guess. No, I hear you. Look, if the Rangers won 5 more home games. They're 14, 19, and 7. They're trying to get the respectability at home. I'm sure that's not the purpose, but even 5 more, they would be in the midst of the wild card race. That's not good enough, but it was an oddity, their home record. I can't see that repeating next year. I think they will have more points next year. If they're a playoff team, that's another question. Antonio, appreciate the pushback on everybody. Appreciate that. Thank you. Let's go to Sean in Ohio.
Yeah, so again, the fans are fickle, all right? If they were playing all these kids and they weren't winning these games against Detroit, against Washington, playing competitive against Montreal, they'd be saying, they didn't draft right. They didn't do it. But the kids are doing good. So again, it's like politics. You can never be right. It's like, come on. They're putting a product on the ice that looks positive for the future. Just Cartier dropping the gloves last night and going at it. Fighting is insane to me in the sport. Every time I see it, it's just the whole concept is crazy. I love it, but it's crazy. But him dropping the gloves. Sikora the other night dropping the gloves. He took a little bit of a beating, but you know what? He never had a fight ever, and he dropped the gloves in the NHL. There's not a lot of people in the world that could say that.
Yeah.
And he didn't back away from it. I remember Kreider when he was a rookie. He was looking at the bench. Should I? No, Sikora just dropped him and went at it. You know, the kid's got it. He's got the heart. And again, I said this about the D'Angelo situation. The group of guys we're talking about, every interview, they seem family-oriented. Look, I'm not saying there were guys that haven't had a good upbringing, but they seem like, you know, I go to the Charlie McAvoy thing where I was told he talks to his father almost after every game. Still, guy's making $10, $12 million, but he still respects that. He has a relationship. It's a family orientation. And I guarantee you, if Fortescue doesn't step it up in the offseason, his father's not going to say to him, you know, what are you doing? You're going to waste this? You need to be doing this. Let's find out what you need to do. As a parent, it's important. And that's the kind of guys I think he's drafting. And I'm going to stay with it until they all tank, and I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not saying any of them are going to become these 1,000-game players, but these are the guys we need in the mix.
Yeah, and I thought that was a great point that Antonio brought up there, that these are all young kids. It's not like they're not gonna have anything to play for next year. That was a big thing we brought up with Panarin, is he was getting paid $11.5. I mean, maybe he's not a great example. He was in shape. He did put in the offseason work, everything you hear at the rink and stuff. But like, some players might sign that contract and pack it in. Laffy might be a good example of him signing that contract last year and then packing it in for the entire season. You know, I mean, there were other factors that we've discussed, but Perot said it to Johnny Laz in the locker room after, I think it was after the Detroit game. He's like, every game is something to play for us. Just because we're not going to the playoffs, every single game we have something to play for as young kids getting the opportunity, and that's exactly it. You know,
and let's get back to Drury again. I love the fact I didn't want him to trade Trocheck. I still don't want him to. But the fact that he sent out that message saying we're not just giving him away for the sake of getting rid of him. So to me, that's a right move. That's a right no move. You know, you're not making moves just for the sake of getting rid of it. He's trying to build something. Why are you going to get rid of a guy just for the sake of it? So again, I want him to keep him. If they trade Trocheck, I hope it's for somebody real significant and not just assets like you said on the radio. The assets, yeah, we need assets, but he's been getting some assets. And again, he's been getting a lot of second, third, fourth round picks, which are turning into the right kind of player, because generally you get those lunch pail guys in the second, third, fourth round, those guys that are clawing to get in the league, not number one picks who have always been the best everywhere they've went. So I'm not taking away from those guys, but it's a different mindset as a player. You know, when you walk into the locker room as the first round pick, it's a different mindset as I got to bust my ass to get on the ice every shift. You know, it's a tryout, like you said, a tryout every shift. Yeah. And that's how they're playing right now.
Yeah, and you go back to the Detroit game, or I forget which game it was, it wasn't the Detroit game, it was the one before that, where the kids were the Sikora line wasn't getting a ton of playing time. And shout out to our neighbor in section 322 there. He was asking, he was just saying, like, why isn't like Sullivan playing, or I think it was his son actually, like, just play more of the kids. Why didn't they only get 6 minutes, 7 minutes? I said, you got to find the fine line. I mean, Sullivan, he's not going to be that coach that's not going to play them just for the sake of not playing them because he doesn't trust them or something like that. He's going to put them in the position to succeed. If he feels like the game's not necessarily going their way, they might be fighting the puck a little bit, they might not have the legs that night, who the hell knows? There's so many factors. He's not just going to throw them out there for the sake of throwing them out there. He's going to put them out there in a position to succeed. And then he comes back in Detroit, and they win against Detroit, and they all have a great game. And then the same thing with the Capitals game. And then another thing I was saying to them, our neighbors in 322, is that this isn't the end here. They still have Rubrick down in Hartford, Brett Berard down in Hartford, Matt Rempe, who's still injured. I'm sure he's going to try to come back next year. Edstrom is hurt. You know, the asset pool is still very strong. And there's also a handful of guys that we're not even naming. all the guys that we've been naming in juniors the last couple of episodes, Aspinall, Liam Greentree, Jacob Battaglia. This is how many more assets do we want? You know, like you can make almost like a whole B team. I joke around about it, the New York Wolfpack, with the rest of the prospects they have waiting for their opportunity. You know,
and you got Johnny Brodzinski, who plays like he's 23 and fighting for a spot every game.
Yeah, and people might not realize that he was the captain of the Wolfpack for a while. So he's kind of the ringleader. And to me, Coach Ed and I were talking about it last night. It'd be a mistake to even trade away someone like him. He's not going to demand a $5, $6, $7 million contract. He's going to be another mentor for these kids. He's not a liability out there. He's kind of like that middle ground. He's not a veteran. He's not a young kid. He's still got the legs, you know, he still meshes. He's a great leader for these kids. He was already their captain at one point. They obviously already look up to him enough. And it all meshes together and it shows on the ice. He got 2 points last night, I think, 2 or 3 points. I think he had a point or two against Detroit. You know, everything seems to be clicking, and it's not just luck. There's reasons for these things, and that's.
And don't forget when people are saying, "Why don't they play the kids more?" Guys like Trocheck, Miller, Zibanejad, they want to play. They don't want to play 6 minutes. They're at a level where they want to play. You got to like reel them in a little bit. But they're not going to sit there and go, "Oh, I'll just play 10 minutes tonight." They want to play.
Yeah.
And they want to play a lot, you know. So I'm sorry. I mean, again, not to go back into politics, but if you can't look at this team right now and say things look bright or look a lot better than it did in November, I don't know what else to say. I mean, how do you not get a little excited? Like Antonio said, the Garden, we've been saying it, you've been saying it all for 2 years. The Garden hasn't been like this in years.
Yeah.
Years. But again, winning and the puck going in the net makes a big difference, but that's what's going on. So,
well,
you forgot to mention on the radio the Gavrikov signing when you were saying they made the right moves for this year.
Oh, yeah. Yep. For sure. That was a big one.
Because as soon as they signed him, everybody said, "Oh, this is our piece.
Right.
This is the piece we need." Everybody was very optimistic about this year when they got Gavrikov.
Yeah, no one mentions the Gavrikov. I forget. Was it Chris Drury was the GM last summer? I forget. Who signed Gavrikov?
Yeah, I don't know. Must have been somebody else.
Maybe it was one of the assistant GM that pushed Drury to do that. You know, it is what it is. But no, shout out to Antonio. Because him and I, we didn't really see eye to eye, I think, on the Panarin situation a little bit. Not that we got into an argument, but we go back and forth. We discuss things. So shout out to Antonio for kind of maybe admitting a little bit that he was wrong about Drury there in his call. And I think that's the biggest thing in our world is with the whole social media thing. Once you say something or once you put yourself out there in one aspect, similar with politics, it's hard for us as humans to admit when we're wrong, you know?
Look, if I can admit that Jack Hughes, I was wrong about him. Come on, people can admit. People can admit something. I'm not saying that Drury's perfect, but when you look at the facts that I stated last week about his draft picks, and these guys are all playing well right now, how do you not agree with it somewhat? I mean, I'm watching the game and I'm like, shit. I got to look up his draft picks because this all lines up. I just had a thought in my head, and I'm looking at him like, these are all his guys.
Yeah.
All these drafts that everybody says, "Oh, who'd they get? They didn't get this. They didn't get that." These are his guys. And if it works, there's going to have to be a lot of people that are going to answer to us.
Shout out to Coach Ed for the last episode. He did an amazing job doing his homework on that draft. I released the full Coach's Corner on YouTube, just the Coach's Corner. So if you want to rewatch that, but always you could find it in our weekly episodes. But yeah, we did it. Coach did a great job, and we went through each of the draft picks that Drury was responsible for. I mean, he officially took over as GM in 2021?
I think it was 21. If I got I might have got a couple of the facts wrong.
No, I'm pretty sure you're right because Laffy was the 2019 draft, and then he played in COVID. So yeah, it had to have been right after that. So yeah, we weren't necessarily looking at the first round picks, second round and below, where those types of players are really going to be an impact or need to be an impact for a team to be successful. And I keep hearing on the radio too of like almost every analyst is now not copying each other by saying this, but they keep saying that, like, as a GM, you need to make, like, if they hit like those singles, doubles, maybe a triple here and there, but then you got to be patient because those types of players to swing for that home run, like a player like Austin Matthews becoming available, maybe even Brady Tkachuk after this year if Ottawa shits the bed. That's when you take the big swing and the home run. There's no reason just to make these like free agent signings that aren't going to really do much, so.
And also the fact that all these kids are actually proving that they can play in the NHL. If we have to go after Brady Tkachuk, that gives you a lot of assets to trade for him if that's the case. Or, obviously if we sign as a free agent, that's different. But, there's a lot of options out there with Garand playing well. There's a lot of options out there that he's got because they gave him the chance and because they're succeeding. And even go back, Robertson wasn't his draft. Obviously, everybody knows I love the way he's playing. But even listen to his interviews. He's the first guy to jump over to when these guys scored too. He grew up with them in the AHL, with the Wolfpack. He struggled with the Wolfpack. Remember, we went to the game. The fans were like throwing stuff at him. You suck. When are you going to do that? And the kid just stuck it out. And in his interviews, what does he say? Every day I'm trying to make myself better. He says that every interview he does. They'll ask him a stupid question. He'll go, well, every day I'm just trying to make myself better. What else could you ask for out of an answer?
Yeah.
And I think it shows, and he's out there and he's doing well, and like all these kids. I mean, give the credit to I don't even know who the coach is in Hartford right now, but give a lot of credit to who they got down there because they're doing something right down there as well.
Yeah, we definitely got to get to some more Wolfpack games next year. It's exciting stuff, fans. If you're in the Connecticut or metro area, definitely head on over there. You can get good tickets for like $15, maybe even less. Grant Pulteney is the head coach of the Hartford Wolfpack. So let's hope that everyone's on the same page. Sullivan's working closely with him, and things keep heading in the right direction. Like I said, Brett Berard's still down there. Rubric, a lot of good players that can turn into some good things, or like you said, be traded assets for something bigger and better. You never know.
What'd you say last night? They brought up Hugo.
Yeah, Hugo Olash was brought up from the Bison up to the Wolfpack. He's a goaltender. So yeah, I mean, like I said, they're deep. It just doesn't end with Dylan Garand. It doesn't end with Adam Sikora or Hemlash. There's a lot of guys that are still waiting for their opportunity. So yeah, Coach Ed and I think they're for real, and they can keep this going as long as the confidence stays there. Let's hope for the best heading into the offseason. Got a few games left here. We'll get into the upcoming schedule in a few minutes. Before that, let's do Stars of the Week, sponsored by Suitors. As always, head on over to @Suitor Sweet Treats on Instagram. Megan and Michelle are always doing some fun stuff, artistic stuff. Like I said, they might not be Bob Ross, but they're the best versions of themselves, creating the custom cookies and baked goods for any event you might have planned. So hit them up down in Tennessee, and they'll ship their cookies up to you or wherever you are for your next big event. Coach, you want to take it off with your MVP of the week?
I'm gonna have to give it to. I was debating with myself about Perreault, but Perreault got an empty netter for his hat trick, right?
Yeah,
and I got to give it to Cooley because not only did he get the hat trick, but he had the fight. So he's showing a little bit more life again. Hope maybe encouraged by playing with these guys who are kind of younger than him, but he's not that old. But he grew up with them, and I just thought he had a great game last night, and he's been playing real well.
Yeah, I mean, this week there's no really bad pick. I'm going to give it to Mika again. I think we gave it to him last week together, but I'm going to give it to him again. I feel like he's just kind of like the ringleader right now. He's buzzing. He's doing everything like we said about him last week. Penalty kill, power play. He's taking these young kids under his wing, setting them up, setting up JT Miller, ripping the puck on the power play, looking for the pass. He's just in that mode right now where he's just feeling it. And yeah, right now he's just playing MVP style hockey and looking forward to him continuing on.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick at all. He's definitely playing well.
Key contributor, I'll go first this one. I went with Will Cooley for this one. I've been not really down on him this year, but it seemed like something's been off, especially after last year when he was like our best forward. It seemed like he might have taken a small step back this year. But with Trocheck not getting traded and some of his buddies probably from the Wolfpack days getting called up, he's kind of like the big brother now. And he's really helping them along. Obviously putting the hat trick in the other night is huge for him. Last night, his first career hat trick. Yeah, all good things for Cooley, and he just continues to be the leading goal scorer when ending up on top of the net.
Quietly 19 goals.
Yeah. So hopefully he hits the 20 plateau. Did he have 20? No, he never had 20, right? That would be his first time, I would assume.
Don't forget, Kreider didn't get 20 or 30 for a few years.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to Cartier. I just think that
he hit 20 last year. Cooley.
Yeah, well, he's right at his number, but he
hit 20 last year, and actually he did hit 20 this year too. So it must have been his 20th last night.
Oh, the hat trick. I'm thinking before it said 19.
Yeah. So good for him. 20-goal seasons for a player like that. That's nothing to shake your head at. Put your nose up at.
Yeah, I'm going to give my key contributor to Cartier. I think he's rejuvenated. That line has been rejuvenated. JT Miller playing real well now. I like the way he reads the forecheck. He back checks. Again, forwards don't have to, wings don't have to play 200 foot, but he's playing 170 feet, which is what he should be doing. He's involved a lot. I see him getting the puck off the wall out of the zone a lot. I like the way that kid plays, and it's encouraging. I'm giving him the contributor.
It's a good pick. Up next is highlight of the week. You want to take this one, or?
Ooh, a lot of goals to pick from.
I'm going to give it to Cooley's snipe, the one down the right wing there. He's not really known for his shooting ability.
Yeah, that was a shot.
Yeah, like I said, he's usually one to like end up on top of the net with a deflection or literally just forcing his way or forcing the puck into the net. He's usually gets those gritty goals. So I wanted to give him a nice highlight with that snipe coming down the right wing there. It was a nice shot.
That was a nice one, but I'm going to give it to I got to show a little bit of love for Perot. That one play where him and Mika had that nice. He had pretty much a tap in, but Mika gave him that nice little pass on the back end, and he just found the open net. So I'm going to give it to him. He's been he's been playing well. He went on a little bit of a lull there for a few games, but again, not that he was having bad games. He just wasn't. The puck wasn't going in, but he was in position, playing the right way. And when you play like that, the puck finds your stick a lot more.
Without a doubt. Yeah, you could have taken any of the goals. I mean, I feel like a lot of the goals in this stretch are highlight worthy, especially Perot.
I feel like I probably should have given the key contributor to Connor Sherry because he deserves a mention for something this week.
No, give it to him. Honorable mention, Connor Sherry.
Got to give it to him. The guy has been playing lights out again on that line with JT Miller. If that line's going to exist next year, who knows? But he's making a case for himself, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's one player we don't really bring up a lot when we're talking about these young kids. I mean, we're only supposed to give out 4 awards, but this week you got to give Karate an honorable mention as well. He might not be getting it on the score sheet as much as the other guys, but even if he's rejuvenating JT a little bit and making Connor Sherry look a little bit better or look a little younger than he is, I should say, then hey, that's all it's going to take. So shout out to those guys as well. And instead of doing a doghouse, maybe we just do the honorable mention award this week.
That's it. There you go. Because I'm not putting anybody in the doghouse either.
Perfect.
The thing with Sherry also, again, let's talk about character. The first half of the season, the fans wanted him gone. I'm sure the press wasn't great on him playing. And did he disappear? I think he might even went down to Hartford briefly. And the guy comes back and he's got 4 goals in the last 11 games or whatever the number is. I mean, come on. The guy doesn't go in a shell. Guy fights his ass off and plays hard. He another character guy that these young kids are probably going, wow, this guy's still doing the same game, and he's an older guy in the league, and now they're going to see what they need to do. All that stuff again, like Antonio said, it's priceless. We've been saying it for years. It's priceless. So
that's what I was going to say. The intangibles, like even if Sherry's not putting up points, like the positive you could take from that is he's not putting up points and he's still coming to the rink every single day to play.
Yeah,
to try to get better or to improve. And that's great for these kids to see, And what I always say, or what we always say, is if you're not going to contribute on the score sheet, you got to find other ways to contribute. And to me, that's kind of what Connor Sherry's all about. He's going to be the one forechecking. He's going to be the one battling. He's going to, do all those little things, playing good defensive hockey. He's obviously not going to get on the score sheet every single game. He was never that type of player, ever. So,
and look, I don't want to beat a dead horse with Brendan Othman either. But if I remember watching him, if he had that shot on the weak side and he fanned on it or he hit the post, he would throw his arms up in the air. His head would go back. I don't see that with this generation of players we have right now. He had a good attitude. I'm not going to – you didn't hear much, but when I saw that interview with Calgary, he's like, I felt I had nowhere to go. I wanted a chance somewhere else, which is fine. He didn't badmouth the organization or whatever. But he was frustrated with being in the AHL so much, where that also dictates your attitude in a way. So, good luck to him. I'm not hating him or anything, but I'm just trying to show that character of a player, the body language, the camaraderie, the whole thing.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, good stars of the week. Like I said, honorable mentions this week instead of Doghouse Award. But as always, you can find us each week with the Coach Ed's Copyright Doghouse Award. But shout out to Connor Sherry and Cartier Karate for doing – he got into a fight too last night. So, yeah, all these kids are getting into scraps.
Oh.
Karate.
I said that, yeah. He threw down.
Well, you said Sakura too. But yeah, you did say that.
Sakura was the other night. Sakura wasn't last night.
That wasn't.
Sakura was against Montreal, I think.
Yeah.
And but last night was Cooley and Karate, because Cooley threw the big hit on Leonard. Again, he hasn't thrown it. I don't remember seeing him throwing those hits.
What did Mark say in the offseason? Rempe was working with Sherry and somebody else. Let me see. Oh, Laba and Matthew Robertson was working with Rempe in the offseason. So, I mean, even Biz said it on Chicklets. He feels like fighting's coming back in the NHL. So, all these young kids, like we said, I mean, they're second, third, fourth, fifth round draft picks. They got to play that style of hockey, be willing to drop them, and also put some pucks in the net. Let's find that middle ground.
Yeah.
All right, good episode. Let's wrap it up with upcoming schedule, sponsored by Sorrento's. As always, if you're looking for a nice pregame meal at home from your couch, head on over to Sorrento's to do a takeout order. Custom pizzas, beautiful Italian dishes, steaks, different meats, Italian deli style, and they also have the what's it called? The bakery or the cafe with delicious espresso and other pastries and things like that. So head on over to Sorrento's for your next meal on the West End in Long Beach, New York. So this Saturday, we got away in Dallas, 5 o'clock. Should be another big test for the young kids playing a team like Dallas. That is a playoff team. That's not a playoff battling team. They're in the playoffs, and they could be a cup favorite this year. Then on Monday, we didn't mention it yet, but we will be hosting the watch party at O'Brien's Bar and Grill. So head on over to O'Brien's on Monday, 4/13. With the game against the Panthers. We'll be hosting that watch party for $50. All-you-can-eat buffet and drink specials. Should be a ton of fun. And we'll be watching the game from 7 o'clock to the final buzzer with our friends over at O'Brien's. And then the last game
that's 31st Street between 7th and 8th Avenue.
Yep, and right outside the Garden. And for the home games, it's a great spot to pregame because, like I said, right across the street, pretty much wait till the last minute to run across and still get there. But they have great food, great drinks, great people, all that good stuff. Head on over to O'Brien's for your next pregame in the city. And yeah, last game of the season, Wednesday against Tampa, away game. All three of these games are away, and that'll be 7 o'clock next Wednesday. We'll probably be doing either a live stream with you guys while we watch the game, if we can get that going. Otherwise, we'll have something pre-recorded again like we did this week. So as always, fans, thank you for your support. And yeah, head on over to Sorrento's.
All right. Wrap it up.
All right.
Good job, fellas. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to the fans, sponsors, Little Ed, and all our help we get. And let's do it. Great job on the NHL call. I love it.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. So yeah, hopefully maybe we can get Coach Ed on the line next week to meet Mick and Peter. Otherwise, until next week, let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers, Ed.
Love you guys. Thank you,
Love
fans.
you guys. Good night. Let's go, boys.